So, a little update on the 5 hockey players in the Hockey Canada trial. They were all acquitted of all charges. If you don't remember, these men were accused of essentially forcing themselves on a woman after winning gold at the Junior Olympics. The 5 men contested that. Apparently, the woman wanted to do group activities. A lot of folks... Yeah. Back in 2019, when this first occurred, 2019-2018, police didn't decide to press charges because there was insufficient evidence to bring forth a case. But through some sneaky ways, they got access to testimony that they gave to Hockey Canada, which is the organization that handles the NHL and the overall governing body. Then, due to public pressure and some details being linked, because the way it worked was Hockey Canada does its investigation, and so they're talking to the special investigator. But they were talking to them under the assumption that this wouldn't get sent to the police afterwards. It did. And it got leaked to the public. And that created public pressure. Yeah. So they decided to bring forth. But if you followed the case and you looked at the evidence being presented, there's no way you can say beyond a reasonable doubt that these men are guilty. Mm-hmm. If anything, the woman is a credible liar and very inconsistent. So fast forward to today, the judge had to hand down her sentence. And she did. She acquitted them on all charges. These men walked free 5 or 6 years later. Mm-hmm. So, with that in mind, I want to just go through some of the stuff that the judge said because it was spicy.
It was something.
We start at 10:45 a.m. The judge is going over the facts of the case before she delivers her ruling. Some of you guys might be wondering why there isn't a jury. There was a jury, and then the jury got removed.
I remember that.
Because one of them sent a note to the judge saying, we feel like the defense attorneys are judging us.
They're laughing at us.
And, they think we're ugly or whatever. Because, they'd be laughing. Because I guess the defense attorneys are at their desk laughing, and they looked over, and they felt that they were laughing about them.
You call me a boo-boo face.
And I think one of the jury said, we don't know if we can be impartial or something like that. Which was it's so crazy. So the judge had to remove them, right? Because there's nothing that you can really look at there.
Yeah.
So 11:20 a.m., the judges turned to the 2 videos referring to them as consent videos, in which EM said she was okay with this. While speaking on the video, EM, which is the alleged victim, does not display any signs of intoxication. She has no difficulty speaking. She is not slurring her words and speaks clearly and coherently. Why is this important? Because one of the prosecution's claims is that these men, drugged her up or they got her drunk and then they allowed for this stuff to happen. But in the videos that the men took, because the guys took 2 videos before and after of asking her hey, do you consent to this? She's like, yeah. And in one of the videos, she's like, fuck, stop being such a pussy. This is, I'm fine. It's okay. So she's using that video to look at it and be like, well, your claim that she's drunk doesn't pan out.
Or maybe drugged.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah. It doesn't show that.
At noon, judge has resumed reading the reasons for her ruling after the morning recess. She's recapping some of the testimony. The judge is recapping the Crown's arguments and submissions of trial. The Crown argued that the complainant was credible and that she had no reason to fabricate the allegation that she did not voluntarily consent. Well, that's not true, that she had no reason, because she was in a relationship at the time, and essentially the argument is that instead of admitting that she cheated on her boyfriend, who she then goes on to marry, with 5 guys and had group sex, probably just better to say that something bad happened.
Oh, she wants the 5 guy? I like the burgers.
The Crown also argued that the evidence of the accused players should not be accepted as their credibility is compromised by the text conversation in the group chat. The judge is now explaining what the Crown must prove in order for the court to reach a conviction. She said the Crown needed to prove 3 things: that the accused touched the complainant, that the touching was of a sexual nature, and that there was an absence of consent. The first 2 points are not disputed, with the exception of Foote, whose lawyer disputes whether the sexual touching was involved. Some of the complainant's testimony was proven wrong by video evidence, the judge says. For example, EM testified that she felt isolated at the bar, that she tried to sneak away but was followed, the judge said. But video showed she had an extended conversation with a bouncer while there, whom she said was a friend. EM also said she was completely out of it when she arrived at the hotel, the judge recounted. However, she added, video showed EM exiting the cab, checking her phone, and walking up the stairs without difficulty. EM said that she had repeatedly that she was unusually drunk the night of the alleged assault. However, the judge said there was no obvious signs of impairment displayed in the video evidence from the bar where the men met or during the videos of the actual incident. The judge said, in her view, EM exaggerated how intoxicated she was that night. The judge has found Carter Hart not guilty. She says there is reasonable doubt that the sexual activity between him and the complainant took place without her consent. Alex Fermenton, not guilty. Callan Foote, not guilty. In her third ruling, he was accused of grazing the complainant's face with his genitals as he did the splits over her in the hotel room. Yeah. Okay, this is the point after. So she goes in with one guy, she bangs him, and then she says, bring the other dudes. Apparently, she laid by the entrance, like, because the guys came to the room. She laid by the entrance, she's like, who's going to fuck me? And then one of the guys said, yo, because I think this guy might be like a lawyer or something. No, he might be a goalie. You know, goalies are very flexible.
Yeah.
So one of the guys like, yo, do a split on her face. Like as like, I guess like a gag or whatever.
Yeah,
and so she lay there, and so he got butterfly, but he dropped his balls in her mouth.
That's a new way of teabagging. That's split bagging.
Yeah. Funniest part is the judge says the splits were separate from the sexual. They're separate, all right. From the sexual activity that took place that night, and she's not satisfied that they were sexual in nature. I am inclined to agree. I think the only time I've seen teabagging is in video games, and it's normally when you want to let somebody know you a.
No, you got owned.
I've never teabagged somebody and think, I've lost my virginity. Dylan Dubé, not guilty. Michael McLeod, not guilty. All players not guilty. She went through a lot of the evidence. She said EM lied at a few different parts, which I think was important, but it's not in here, unfortunately. I can't pull it up. She said that her testimony, one part that she had an issue with was when EM said, oh, I'm here today to tell my truth. And the judge's like, no. That's not what we're reading.
No, that's not. No. Hey.
Yes.
Hey.
Just the wording bothered her.
Yeah. But and I agree.
With the whole my truth era.
My truth. No. Whatever happened, whether they no. We want to know what happened. Well, that's my truth. That's the lyrics of someone that don't want to admit that they're wrong or it did not happen. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the way I saw it. It's not what happened. I'm not happy that she caught that. And she was able to say something about that because, the my truth thing in a court, kind of iffy.
All right. I want to there's some really powerful parts by the judge. She says, the judge starts by quoting Justice Anne Malloy, who wrote in a different assault case in Toronto. Although the slogan, believe the victim, has become popularized of late, it has no place in criminal trial. To approach a trial with this assumption that a complainant is telling the truth is the equivalent of imposing the presumption of guilt on the person accused of sex and placing the burden on him to prove his innocence. That is antithetical to the fundamental principles of justice enshrined in our Constitution. Judge says there are troubling aspects in the manner EM testified. The court is concerned that where EM had gaps in her memory, she filled those gaps with assumptions. On several occasions, the complainant referred to her evidence as her truth instead of the truth, which seemingly blurs the line between what she believes to be true and what is objectively true. Woo! Nah, this judge is on fire. EM testified that she was feeling scared and fearful when she was in the hotel room, yet she did not mention her fear to any of the 3 statements in the police in 2018. She didn't mention it until 2022's lawsuit. In 2018 to the police, she admitted that she was liking the attention a little bit at the beginning. When confronted...
If you don't get tough.
Let's keep going. When confronted with her evidence at trial and her earlier statements, EM had a tendency to blame others. For example, she blamed Detective Newton of London for talking over her when he interviewed her in 2018, preventing her from giving full answers. She blamed her civil lawyers for her errors in 2022. Video evidence contradicts EM's claim that the players brought most of the alcohol at Jack's bar. Footage shows that she bought almost all of her own drinks, except a small glass of beer purchased by McLeod.
That's even spicier than what the judge said, bro.
Yo.
That's crazy.
And then one of the biggest pieces of evidence is that after all of this came out and, they knew they had to talk to Hockey Canada, the group chat between them is what came out. And the Crown was trying to present this as being incriminating evidence.
Because everybody was saying, like, oh, we have to say the truth. We have to say what happened.
One guy specifically.
We have to say the same story.
One guy specifically said, guys, we just have to get our story straight. We need to tell the truth and just get this wrapped up. So they use that to say these men were conspiring. Okay?
No.
That's pretty much the most incriminating thing they found in that group chat, which to me,
it's not.
A group chat you don't think the public gonna see, it's probably not. That should be way more incriminating shit than that.
Yeah.
Shit,
yeah, but you did this.
Because if you're trying to say these men are like, guilty of this kind of stuff or they're very like bad people, how come you didn't show any text messages that highlighted that?
We gotta say the truth and wrap this up is incriminating.
That's what they're saying. The Crown argued that the players group chat from June 28 shows them getting behind a false narrative of events, including that EM was aggressively demanding to have sex in the room. The judge says, I disagree with this characterization of the group chat. While the men who participated in the group chat were recounting their observations of what occurred, there's no basis upon which I conclude that they did it on the sole purpose of concocting a false narrative of the events. The judge says the group chat participants were expressing their honest recollection of what happened in room 209 and not concocting a false narrative. And, that's the thing with this kind of stuff. When you have 15 people in a room, they're all witnessing something. You would think that based off of talking to each one of them and getting stuff in, that you would have huge amounts of gaps in their story. Mm-hmm. But that never happened. There was no bombshell evidence that came out that showed that they were lying or being incredibly inconsistent with each other's recounting of events. Because when you're fabricating a lie with that many people, it's hard to keep everyone's story straight.
What I want to know is if room 209 is going to be charged a little bit more. Is it going to be more expensive to live in room 209 whenever you're going to rent it?
Imagine
like, yo, can I get room 209? I want to smell the carpets.
All right. On the basis of all this evidence, I find as fact that the complainant did express she wanted to engage in sexual activity with the men by saying things like, is someone going to F me? And by touching herself. I accept the overwhelming evidence that EM was acting in a sexually forward manner by touching herself in the room full of men, asking them to engage with her. The Crown was trying to allege that just because she was touching herself in front of a group of men doesn't mean that she wanted to, sleep. But if you put it in the greater context of everything else, it absolutely does mean that. So yeah, that's like most of the evidence. Now, even though this is a huge win for them, you have to think that their lives have been completely derailed. They have this shadow hanging over them. And, a lot of people still feel like they're guilty. A lot of people still talk about them like they're guilty. And Hockey Canada and the NHL have not allowed them to return to the NHL or get reinstated for some of them who are in the NHL. And for some of the other ones who never even got a chance to really go up in their career, this has just been... Yeah, they won, but they still lost so much. Yeah. And that's just the reality with these highly publicized cases like this. There's no restitution for the person who wins. Not that there should be necessarily, but yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those situations where nobody really wins. But they didn't end up in jail and with this stain sticking to their name, so at least there's that. I wanted to cover the second part of this.
They have someone with a stain, though, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, she had his balls in her mouth. That's a stain. And that details out. That's probably the worst detail of this whole story. She laid there on the floor while some dude teabagged her. That's crazy.
And with all that, we don't even know her name. We don't know her, but we know them.
If you want to find her name, you can. But it's just like they put a publication ban, so you try to respect it. Right?
Yeah, it's fine. We're not gonna.
I'll say this. One argument I heard is nobody would ever want to do this. There's plenty of women who want to do group sex. I've seen it. When I was in high school, I seen it. I couldn't believe it. It's just some people, maybe because they don't love themselves, maybe because they like groups. I don't know. You guys got to stop thinking like everybody's you, right? People think I could never. My girlfriend. Yeah, first off, you don't know what the your girlfriend's doing in the bedroom half the time. Okay, you guys have no idea what kind of crazy kinks they might have that they might be ashamed of or don't want to talk to everyone about. And I can assure you, every day there's BDSM events where folks do group stuff, swinger stuff, crazy shit that you would never do. Doesn't mean that people don't do it consensually. So we need to get away from this whole thing that because things are not part of this normal sexual proclivities, that some folks don't want it. Some folks are really feeling wild and just the attention of men is more than enough. And so they'll just invite sex. That's the thing. The same way I can't understand why men would want to participate in group stuff, you can't understand why some people would want to be the sole receptacle
of people at sea.
She's a receptacle of cum.
Ugh, tell me where to go.
Tell me where to go.
You know what I always had a problem with this is that they always talk about young boys, the hormones of boys when they're growing up and teenage. They got hormones too. The way you feel inside and having urges, they got the same thing. Stop thinking that it's just always a one-sided thing and it's just the boys. Yeah, the boy, these they too. There's post-nut clarity for men. Women got that too. So let's stop, let's acknowledge the fact that you're in high school, the hormones, they go both ways. Okay? You're just out of high school, you want to do some stuff like that, you will think about some wild shit. Guys do it, girls do it. Don't stop thinking that it's only the boys that think about stuff like that. Even the ones that say, I would never. Stop. Is it you talking or the pressure?
Yeah. I would never is very famous last words just before you would.
No, it's I never.
I heard I would never right before the penis slips into her mouth.
No, it's I never had. oh my God, it's my first time. And then
I don't normally do this.
it's like, stop thinking it's just a man.
But anyways, I just wanted to cover this story because I wanted to follow up. A lot of folks, had something to say, but I told y'all, like, the evidence was not in their favor. So I'm not surprised by this verdict whatsoever. This is probably what I expected. But, the judge, shout out to her. She said a lot of stuff about criminal court that I felt needed to be said for the public because a lot of folks do this whole believe her shit. And I'm like, no.
That's
I
cool.
look at evidence. That's it. Anything else?
No.
Let us know what y'all think in the comments.